We are in After Effects, and usually it'll prompt you to open an existing project if you have any, or you can just say new project. So I'm just going to say new. So let's take a look at the After Effects interface. So most of you, if you've never used After Effects, it is a great motion graphics program. It does editing, visual effects, compositing, and a whole slew of other things. So what it does well is really bring together elements like video, images, sound, animations, and you can bring them together here and do amazing visual effects. It does do, you can do editing, video editing in it. It's not the ideal tool for that. So if you're just doing straight up video editing, you're better off just using either Final Cut or Premiere. But if you want to do post effects, color, you can do color corrections in those programs, but this also does color correction. But what it does best really is more the visual effects and motion graphics. So the other programs do have some elements of that, but this is far more robust in that aspect. So if you're going to do a lot of editing, just straight up editing, you're going to even bring these elements together. So you might, if you had a bunch of visual effects shots, you would do them here in After Effects, and then you would later bring them into Premiere, Final Cut to do your final editing, as you would have, if you had a lot of lengthy clips that you needed to edit. It's a lot better to use those programs for it. So anyway, let's look at what After Effects is. We already kind of talked about what it is and what it isn't. So it's not, it is an editor. It does have an editor. It's not the best tool for that, and you'll see why as we go through. So the interface can be a little bit intimidating at first, and understanding the workflow, but it's really not that complicated once you know how it works and how everything here comes together. So, Premiere's kind of, and Movie Maker and all these other things are kind of intuitive. This program has a lot of different elements in it, and then so, it's not sort of like you build a timeline and then you just you edit it and you render it out. You can have many timelines, and you can have many different elements in a timeline, and you can queue a lot of different jobs together in this. So, but let's look at the main interface here. So here's your project window. This is where you import all of your elements into. So an After Effects project can have sounds, it can have videos, it can have pictures, single images, it can have multi-frame images, so it's an image sequence, and all those different, this is what makes After Effects great, is you can bring all those elements together. And so, you'll have your tools palette, you have a bunch of different palettes here that you'll see can be rearranged in a number of ways. So you'll notice, like in the workspace, you can do all these different types of layouts. We'll just kind of go with all panels for now and take a look at how this works. So basically you'll have an area here where you'll see your images or other content, and you can play them in an area right now. Right now there's sort of we have nothing in here yet. We have no compositions or anything. So here's our timeline, but it's not really attached to anything. It's showing a render cube right now. So let's go ahead and make a composition, or actually let's import something first. So when we import files, and I'll just do a single file. So when you import a file, and you can do this for an image sequence or a single image. You don't have to choose multiple files. If you're doing an image sequence, you just pick the first frame of that animation and bring it in. But we're just going to bring in our After Effects file that we did. So we brought in, remember I did the logo.psd, so I'll open that. And so you'll have these options here. You can say composition, retain layer size. You can just say footage, composition. So right now we're just going to leave it on composition, and we'll say retain layer sizes. So and we'll leave these on editable, but I'll explain what those are later. We'll go ahead and click OK. So right now we have a composition. So you can either make a new composition and bring elements into it, or you can import things as a composition. Now you'll notice this icon here means it's a composition. You'll notice also that there's a folder here that came in, and it contains all of my Photoshop layers. So let's take a look at our composition here. So normally we would make a new composition and put elements into it. Since we were able to import our Photoshop file directly into After Effects, now we already have a composition already set up and ready to go. Now here's our timeline down here. So like I said, After Effects is like Photoshop in motion. So if you look down the timeline here, you can see I have a certain number of frames. Now we didn't really get the opportunity to give the composition length for this animation that we're going to do. So we're going to want to go to the composition settings here, and we'll go ahead and change that. So this is like, it's like 5 seconds. That's probably pretty good. A typical logo might be, 10 to 15 seconds. So let's just do 10 seconds, for example, and we'll say okay.